Hey guys, so today I wanted to pose a question to you. What makes you feel rich? Have you ever wondered, have you ever actually thought about that? Do you feel rich just because maybe you make a certain amount of money? Or do you feel rich when your paycheck, hits a certain amount, like you hit your bonus or your bonus goals or whatnot? What makes you feel rich? What makes you feel completely like you have enough? So it's just something to think about, because when you think about feeling rich or being rich, that really could look different for everybody, right? It could look very different for everybody. Some people consider feeling rich having an abundance of money. Some people consider feeling rich having abundance of time, having freedom to do whatever they want with their time. Some people consider rich when you have a lot of things, like a lot of stuff, like a lot of cars. Maybe you own 2 or 3 cars, or maybe you have like a big old house, or whatever. Maybe you have a stockpile. Maybe you're a couponer or something like me, and you like to keep a stockpile of stuff, and that makes you feel rich. Everybody is different, really, when it comes to that. But when you think about it, if you actually think about it and just ponder what actually makes you feel rich, right? And then when you think about feeling rich, meaning you feel like you have more than enough of whatever XYZ, and the feeling of fulfillment, the feeling of feeling like nothing is missing, nothing is lacking, feeling rich, overflow, abundance, right? Some people feel rich based on the feelings of the people around them, meaning they're not really happy internally if the people around them are not happy. Some people feel rich when they are in a relationship, when they have a love partner to share love or to express love, right? Some people feel rich, for example, when they have like all of their finances in order. And I don't mean not just your bills. I don't mean just your bills. I mean like like you've gotten your 401ks, or you've gotten your life insurance policies or whatever, all laid out, planned out, and all that stuff for your family, though. Specifically for your family, meaning not so much that you have everything for yourself or whatever, but like what makes you feel rich is providing for your family. And when you could do that in an adequate way or in a good way, you feel rich. You feel like, rich. Some people feel rich, like I said, based on the certain amount of fulfillment that they have around them. So, for example, I've had men say to me that they felt rich when, are rich or fulfilled, happy, whole, when they came home and I was home waiting on them, like I wasn't gone, and dinner was cooked. They could smell dinner was done or whatever on the stove. And when I greeted them with a hug and a kiss, right? And the kids or whoever else was there, the rest of the family, whoever, also greeted them. And when he went to, take his shower and change his clothes and all that kind of stuff, he could see that he had plenty of soap, deodorant, toothpaste. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say everybody feels different. But for him, that was a good day, right? It was a good day. I was home. I wasn't gone. He wasn't trying to figure out where I was. I wasn't out couponing or whatever. Dinner was made, right? So his food, he knew his belly was about to be full, and he wasn't missing anything he needed for his personal hygiene, right? And in fact, he had extra because I coupon, right? Because I like to coupon. Anybody that knows me knows I like to coupon. I can get a little extreme with it, but in general, I like to coupon. Okay, it's a lot of fun. I like to have my shelves stocked. Okay, so anyway, so what feels rich to you is something to think about and ponder on, because essentially what you're really asking is what makes you feel fulfilled. What makes you feel whole, happy, And when I say happy, happiness really does come from inside, right? But we all know the Bible says that there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. The Bible does not say there's more happiness in overgiving. No, it's not about overgiving. But there is actually a secret, if you want to say, science to making sure that, to what the Bible said, to what Jesus Christ said, that there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. And I actually researched this many, many, many years ago. I researched this, it was like I got a download, if you want to say. It was right before I had Jaden. I was pregnant with Jaden. It was before my baby shower. And it was like I got this insight from Jehovah that people were not actually sometimes reading my facial expressions correctly. I guess I had RBF. I don't know. And so it was like I started researching, the science behind more happiness or feeling happy when you give. Like, why do some people feel fulfilled and happy when they maybe spend time donating or volunteering or volunteer service, or just in general teaching others or helping children or whatever. And when I didn't pull it up today because I didn't actually know I was going to talk about this particular thing, but it just came to my mind. I remember, though, reading that it was actually scientific. In your brain, there was endorphins and things that went off. But specifically, not just from giving, you got some feeling, a feeling of a high from giving. Like, let's say, from giving, from being giving to helping. But specifically, your endorphins, the happy feeling, the happy hormones went sky high through the roof when you were able to see the facial expression of the other person who you gave the gift to, or who you gave whatever to, whether it be money or whatever it is, whatever you gave to them, and you were able to detect on their face the sense of relief or happiness or joy that they felt. And so it was at that time, it's actually at that particular time, it's actually at that particular moment is when your happiness signals on the inside go up. Okay, I know this is crazy, but this is a real science thing. You can look this up. I didn't do it to pull it up, but I will. Anyway, I remember reading that way back when. Okay, and I was, pregnant with my first son, and we were having his baby shower. And so I remember looking in the mirror and making sure, like in my mind, imagining, receiving a gift or being happy. And it was like in my mind I was happy, but when I was looking at myself in the mirror, I noticed that my facial expression didn't quite actually let on. And because and what brought me to that, I think originally, was that somebody had misconstrued something that happened or whatever. It was like totally, they had me pegged all the way wrong with what I was really feeling on the inside. And somehow I realized, or I put together, that my facial expression didn't actually express what I was actually feeling on the inside, right? So anyway, it had led me down this like rabbit hole, right? And I realized that that Jesus Christ, when I read this, Jesus Christ was correct. There is more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. But that the sweet spot to that, or where it was really the most magic that happened, is when you observed the other person's reaction or response to whatever you gave them, or whatever you did for them, or whatever gift you gave, or whatever, right? So that if you yourself as the giver could detect the happiness on the other person's face or in their spirit, that it would raise your endorphins. Okay, now let me put this in a way that I think men could specifically understand. When you are doing your physical activity with your lady, your partner, and you might be working to try to bring her to her happy sweet spot during that time. And when you know that you've got her there, right, and you can see on her face that she has reached that happy spot, right, you feel on top of the world. You feel great, right? Because you feel like you're Superman because you just did that. Okay. Now, it's that same type of thing, but on the non-sexual level, right? Like just on the everyday. This is a real thing. It's a real chemical thing, right? And so therefore, why I'm bringing this up is because if you specifically are, thinking about the things that make you feel rich or things that make you feel happy or rich, fulfilled, and maybe you are a giver. But if you are the type of giver where, let's say you Zelle somebody some money or you cash out them some money and you never get a chance to actually see that person's face, or you don't even get to hear the thank you, or that person doesn't really, express it enough or whatever, right? It doesn't actually set off the alarm or the signals, for you to feel that rise of the happiness hormone, the serotonin and endorphins that are released, right? And so therefore, I'm sharing this because when you know this information, right, and you make it a practice that if you can, when you give somebody something, right, if you want to be there or to try to see that person's response to the gift, that single-handedly alone is that feeling that you get. It's the same feelings that you get when you're on drugs. It's the same endorphins, hormones, and whatnot. Now, of course, it's going to be to a less degree, right? But this is why some people get addicted to giving, or let's say on a mother's term. Let's say in another way that maybe some of us mothers can understand. When you see your children happy, or the smiles on their face after you have, let's say, baked them cookies or made their favorite cake or their favorite meal, right? And you see everybody happy and eating your food and they're like, love you, mommy, I love you, thank you so much, or whatever, right? And how happy you feel on the inside, you feel happy. See, sign language is happy. Happy, or is that excited? Anyway, it's about the same thing. Happy. Anyway, the point is that you, as the receiver, though, if you are the person who is receiving the gift or getting the gift, it is very good if you can make it a practice when somebody gives you something to make sure that your face actually expresses and shows on the outside how you're actually feeling. So like when I was when we were going to our baby shower and everything, and I had already made it in my mind, when I realized that I guess I wasn't quite expressive on the outside as much. In fact, sometimes when I got overly emotional, I would sometimes even clam. Sometimes I would even clam up, like so as to not look like, some crazy crying lady who was out of control or something, right? But I realized that maybe I did that too much or something, right? And so I made it a point at that baby shower, which was big. It was huge. We had oh my God, it was huge. Anyway, I made it a point, though, that with every gift to be very expressive on my face to the best of my ability. And that was the first time that I can remember consciously really practicing that. And then I remember my mother gave me her gift, which was like a bassinet full of a bunch of little gifts. But inside of the bassinet was a picture of me and my mother and the crocheted blanket that my grandmother made or whatever in that picture. And she had wrapped it up, so she had blown up this particular baby photo, but this was my first baby. So when I opened up that particular gift, right, it just made it really made the waterworks come. Like, it made me get emotional, right? And I was doing really good. I remember I was doing good at showing, like, oh, thank you. I remember I was doing good, but when that happened, I was like, and I guess I kind of froze too, but I really was actually trying to not cry and not be crazy, not like, oh, but it was I was actually emotional for that particular gift, right? And I just remember saying to myself, like, no, it's okay to show your happy tears. These are happy tears. These are not sad tears. This is okay. I mean, I had a lot of people there. I had like over 300 people at this baby shower. Anyway, I say all that to say that I never forgot that lesson. I never forgot that information that I learned, because it's like, it's one of those things that you hear people say all the time, or you hear the scripture, or you read the scripture, there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving, all the time. But it's kind of like a lot of people are selfish. So it's like, how much do I have to give before I feel this happy part, right? Well, if you never actually take the time to actually research and look into that, you won't know that the sweet spot of that is actually you getting the opportunity to see the other person validate and appreciate your gift, or whatever it is that you've done. When you get a chance to see the other person's face, the other person's emotional response, or however they respond, right? And that is where that happiness in giving, when you're the giver, comes in. That's where you go up like this, right? So when you are making an point and you know what to look for, like when don't skip that part. Don't just, it's like because otherwise you might actually just miss it, and you might not even feel the happiness part. You might not, right? The other thing is, you as a receiver, if you are very, if you are, aware of, how you respond in certain circumstances and situations and whatnot, when people are giving to you or being kind to you or being loving or whatever, so as to not weaken that exchange, that magical exchange that happens at that moment, where you have the opportunity to show above and beyond, like to really show out on the outside of you how happy this gift makes you feel. Also, like, even though you might be aware of this or whatnot, right? But also understanding that if you don't take time to show the appreciation and actually show on your face, and I don't mean be crazy, I don't mean over exaggerate, but I mean just really make it a point to lock eyes with that person, or really enjoy that moment, 30 seconds, a minute, or whatever, right? And allow the other person to feel the feeling, or feel the happiness, or get to see your happiness, right? If that doesn't happen, it's almost like a blessing that was missed. It's like a small mini blessing. And so you don't want to take away someone's blessing, or the happiness part, that feeling of rich or fulfilled, right? Which is it's like this mini blessing, right? If you're just like, if you just open a gift and, you just real quickly like, oh, thank you, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. It went by so fast, okay? But there's a difference when you're like, oh my God, thank you. You got my green tea? Oh my God, you love me. Thank you. Come here. Let me get, okay, depends on who it is. Give them a hug and kiss or whatever, right? But when you take a moment to do that, when you actually take a moment to actually be very expressive, you as the receiver, you're actually giving, it's like a mini blessing, because the endorphins and the feeling that the person feels in that moment, right? It's a high. It's actually a high. I mean, it's small and it's not addictive, right? But this is the way God made us. This is why Jesus Christ said there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. It's kind of like, when they show those shows on HGTV or whatever, where they took the people that lived in that house or whatever, and they put them up for like a month or two or whatever, and they worked on their house. They redid their house, especially when the family is super deserving. They're very much in need. Maybe they need wheelchair ramps, or they need, the house to be redone or whatever for their disability and stuff. And in that moment, when they first reveal the house, right, and they show, the big reveal, they show everything. And what do? They always zoom in. It's because everybody wants to see their response to the house. It's like everybody worked on that house for free, all for that moment of how the recipients were going to respond to this gift. It's in that moment, right, where the magic happens. where you can literally bestow upon others that blessing, where they get a chance to literally feel that very high of happiness, because they can see it all over your face and they feel a sense of fulfillment. And then what do people like that say? They say, oh, this is addicting. They say, I love doing this with people. It makes me feel good. I don't care about, my time investment, because I just know I'm helping, whatever, right? And it's because they are constantly getting that feedback and that feeling of satisfaction and they're getting a chance to see others, use, whatever, the gifts of the house or whatever, right? They're able to constantly be in a state of giving. And it actually does equate to more happiness than there is in giving than there is in receiving. But especially when the receiver knows how to express emotion, or is not afraid to express the emotion, is not afraid to, share, show their feelings, right? Then the other person, it's like they get even a bigger blessing. It's like even a bigger blessing, right? Another thing, how this happens, or a person can feel this type of feeling, right, is when, let's say, when somebody, a family member or somebody, you pick them up from the airport, or, they came from out of town to visit you, or whatever, right? And you haven't seen them in a while, or they were gone, maybe they left for a week or something like that. In that moment that you pick them up from the airport, or in that moment that you open the door because they're back home or they're just visiting or whatever, and you first see them, right? And you are like, hey, you're happy, like, your response in that moment, right, is literally magic. It's in that moment where the magic takes place, right? Where if you don't have a problem being like, hey, and being, I missed you, and hugging, and maybe you squeeze somebody's, like you just hug them and squeeze them so tight, and you give them a kiss, and you really express how much you miss them or how happy you are to see them and all that kind of stuff. It's in that moment that those endorphins and those feelings get spiked high, okay? And it's a very good feeling. And the person, that person who received that kind of welcoming and whatnot, they love that. They love it. They love it. They feel like, wow, that person really missed me. They really love me. And they feel a sense of fulfillment, and they feel a sense of joy and contentment, right? It's like a feeling of like, I'm happy. Oh my goodness, the sun is like in my eyes or whatever, and I'm looking crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I'm trying to get the videos. I've had 2 long videos, and I'm gonna try to keep them again to 20 minutes or less. So that's it for now. Bye.